Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Okay, before we start the meeting, we're going to swear in our new law director, Mr. Brad Bryan.
So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Bradford T. Bryan. Do solemnly swear. To support the Constitution. And laws. Of the United States of America. The Constitution. And laws. Of the state of Ohio. And the charter. And ordinance. Of the city of University Heights. In my capacity. As law director. Of the city of University Heights. So help me God. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. This is the April 1st meeting of University Heights City Council. I want to thank everybody for being here. Ms. Thomas, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were ready. Oh, okay. Would you call the roll?
Mr. King.
Here.
Mrs.
Here.
Mr. Tony.
Here.
Ms. Wise.
Here.
Ms. Rock.
Here.
Ms. Marshall. Here. Ms. Wiseman.
Here. Okay, would everybody please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
The United States of America. To the republic which stands one nation. God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're now on to the minutes. Were there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Yes, Mrs. Sacks.
Thank you. I just have a question. It's not about the way the minutes are written, they reflect what was discussed, in my opinion. I just have a question about the item I, 2024 Community Recycling Awareness Grant Award for the Solid Waste District, in the amount of $6,000, presented by Ms. Bremer Fisher. I don't know if she's here. So maybe administration can answer. So the meeting was on March 18th, and I'm wondering, I just got my little packet today. Is this the postcard that was
No.
referenced?
No, that is something that is not the same.
Okay, thank you. No more comments. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
There's a second?
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King.
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks.
Aye.
Mr. Tony.
Aye.
Ms. Wise.
Aye.
Mr. Rock.
Aye.
Ms. Marshall. Aye. Ms. Wiseman.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments from the audience? Thank you. If you could state your name and address.
Sure, it's Kelly Chee, 3917 Caversham Road. I'm speaking to you today to help provide some context to the mayor's ongoing fear mongering around the cost of the special election. The mayor has on several occasions referenced $30,000 as the cost of the special election. What he is not telling the community is that he has personally cost us, the residents of University Heights, hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawsuits, all of which could have been avoided if he had the ability to control his anger and peacefully mediate with the Alexander Scholl and Jim Brand. The total cost of the Grand v. City of University Heights lawsuit is yet to be fully recognized, as it is still an ongoing case. At what point will the city be dropped by our insurance carrier? At what point is University Heights uninsurable because the mayor routinely violates residents' First Amendment rights? We demand a mayor who is fiscally responsible with our tax dollars. We demand a mayor that can control their anger. We demand a mayor who can work collaboratively with city council, department heads, and the residents. We demand a mayor whose actions will not result in a continued financial liability to our community.
Thank you. Yes.
State your name.
Mike Estes, 519 University Boulevard. As we vote this evening, resurfacing Warrensville Center, I just wanted to bring up an important issue. I know it's not going to be relevant right away, but it's a good opportunity for us to visit this. There was recently a study that came out that shows that narrow lanes have significant positive impact on a lot of things that are important to us. Pedestrian safety, the damage from crashes is lower, resulting in less injuries, less fatalities. It makes the street more walkable, not just for being able to cross the street, but also for people wanting to spend time on the street. And so when we're looking at Warrensville Center, it has incredibly wide roads, 14, 15 feet in some sections, where the recommendations are now lower than 9 to 11 feet for the speed limits that we have on Warrensville Center. So I'm just hoping that we keep that in mind as we move forward with this project, that there's really some opportunities there to narrow the lane, which is good for drivers and pedestrians, and gives us more room on the paved path to do a proper bike lane with protected lanes, you know, to buffer and not what we have now. And if we're looking to do anything more in the future with zoning or something that increases the retail space on that section, would also make it a lot easier. You know, sections like Peter Lee, which has similar traffic volumes to ours, but is, you know, down to the very narrow lane, which is a fair turning lane, and we can see how much more active that is in the community space or retail space. Similarly, like Figuring Fall, that has a pretty good volume through there, but a lot more area, and a huge portion of that is really road design that makes it more meaningful for it to be a place that people can exist other than just please keep that in mind as we vote on this. I hope that you do for
Thank you. Does anybody else would like to make a comment in the audience? Please state your name and address.
My name is Christina Byer. I'm living in Whiskey Parker Lane. Community knows me as Anna. I'm here to follow up on my comments from the last city council meeting on March 18th. As I mentioned then, I started paying attention to city council meetings when I heard rumors of council censuring the mayor, which took place on May 3rd, 2021. After I spoke 2 weeks ago, I decided to do some more research, and I found the recording of the Zoom council meeting from April 19th, 2021, where a city resident addressed council with details on how the mayor had been verbally abusive to that resident in a phone call. This was what led to mayor being censured. But at about the 10-minute mark of the April 19th meeting, former councilman Justin Gould informed the resident of the power invested in the citizens of the city to recall any elected official through the process outlined in the charter of the city of University Heights, Article 4, Sections 3 and 4. This was 3 years ago. To be clear, 3 years ago, a sitting council member informed a citizen of the legal procedure for a recall due to the treatment that citizen had been subjected to. The mayor had even doubled down on foul language that he used. Myself, I didn't learn about the recall procedure until last year. I and other members of the University Heights discussion group on Facebook were growing increasingly frustrated with the mayor's behavior and actions. I had no idea that what we were learning just last year was just the tip of the iceberg. By February of this year, I knew and had accepted that by choosing to lawfully participate in the democratic process, as outlined in the charter of the city of University Heights, Article 4, Sections 3 and 4, that my reasoning could be challenged. I anticipated being asked, why do you think the mayor needs to be recalled? Why should the average resident care about this? Why can't I just have my trash picked up and our streets plowed without worrying about a petition? These are reasonable, valid questions that I anticipated answering. What I didn't anticipate was being harassed, bullied, and intimidated by supporters of the mayor after I spoke out at the last city council meeting on March 18th. This is my first time participating in a recall effort. I am not a public official. You could argue that just because I wasn't aware before 3 years ago of how citizens, as well as current and former council members, have been verbally abused by this mayor, why should I be treated any differently? There's a saying in stock trading, when in doubt, zoom out. Meaning, when a trader is analyzing trends on how algorithms are controlling the movement of stocks, sometimes it is necessary to consider the bigger picture. What happened before a certain time period can give a trader a better idea of what their next move should be, while still keeping an eye on the details that fit into the bigger picture. So the question is, why would the mayor and his supporters feel so threatened by a citizen lawfully participating in the democratic process? What benefit does the mayor receive by his supporters engaging in the harassment, bullying, and intimidation of a volunteer petition circulator, or by the mayor himself mocking citizens on social media? Let's zoom out and consider the greater good of the city and the citizens of University Heights. We already know that the vast majority of those who are presented with written and audio proof of the mayor's behavior support the recall effort. Of course, the mayor opposes this. I'd like to propose a solution to the mess that we find ourselves in, a way to begin healing the divides this mayor has created within our city. Ironically, the mayor himself has the power to end the recall effort sooner, and that would be by submitting his resignation. It seems simple: resign for the good of the city, for the sake of the big picture, so that the citizens can go back to our homes, our families, our neighbors, the communities within our city that are growing and thriving, and so that we can go back to complaining about cash pickup and taxes. Resign or recall. I would like to ask if there is any city council member here tonight who could give me any reasons why anyone in any setting deserves to be bullied, harassed, or intimidated by someone who simply disagrees with them.
For anything?
Excuse me.
Oh, I didn't stutter.
I don't believe we're in a question and answer session.
This moment is a question and answer session. However, I don't think that anyone deserves to be ridiculed or used for their for exercising the First Amendment rights.
Thank you, Mr. King. I appreciate your response.
Thank you, Ms. Byer. Are there any other comments from the audience? Okay. We're now up to reports and communications from the mayor and taking of their action. Mayor?
Yes, thank you. The State of the City address is a week from this Thursday on April 11th, 2024 at the University Heights Library. Doors open at 6 p.m., address is at 6:30 p.m. We will build upon last year's theme of moving University Heights forward as we work towards a better tomorrow. There will be light refreshments. All are invited. This Wednesday at 5:30 p.m., University Heights officials will tour Brooklyn's new combined City Hall and Police Station, which opened last May. City of Brooklyn has a population of just over 11,000 people. Brooklyn constructed this facility at a cost of $25 million, financed without a tax increase or bond issue, with the city servicing the financing at a cost of $1.2 million annually. This facility includes building and housing departments on the main floor, with mayor's office, conference rooms, and 10 or so department offices above on the second floor, including a city council office. There are council chambers with full tech on the dais, plus screens for the audience, and a police department on the other side of council chambers. The police facilities include office space for the 35-member department, garage parking for police vehicles, 10 jail cells,
animal work facility together with locker rooms and workout facilities adjacent to both the police and city hall offices for shared use. High density file storage is also on site. GPD was the project manager. As a quorum is expected, this facility tour is being noticed with the committee of the whole meeting. The new city hall and police station is located at 8,000 Memphis Avenue in Brooklyn, just west of the John M. Coleman Recreation Center. As widely reported in local media, this Thursday, Lefty's Cheesesteaks will have its grand opening at noon at 2115 South Taylor Road. This event is notable for several reasons, two of which I will reflect on now. First, Lefty's is a successful Detroit-based restaurant chain with 19 locations in Michigan, plus 2 in Florida. That's been interested in some time in the northeastern Ohio market, choosing University Heights as its first Cleveland area location. Second, the site of the new Lefty's was last a Kenny King's and KFC that closed in 2008. The mayor's office, together with the economic development department, law department, and building department, strategically encouraged the owner of this building and prior owners responsible for the conditions to make the requisite improvements, making it suitable for a new restaurant tenant after a 16-year vacancy. Our efforts are achieving fruition with Lefty's grand opening, pending final inspection tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, the grand opening is this Thursday, April 4th at lunchtime. Representatives of the city and of Lefty's and its investors will be there to mark the occasion, including equity partner Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns. This Sunday, April 7th, there will be a dedication of the new Torrance scroll for Alexander Schul, together with the Cornerstone event at the corner of Milton Road, University Parkway. I have been honored to be invited to participate in the tour parade and festivities for the Alexander Schul that day, and I will be there for what will be my second tour parade with Alexander Schul, my first being in 2019. The parade will run from Erie Elementary School to the Schul site, beginning at 1:30 p.m. Also this Sunday is the spring concert for the University Heights Symphonic Band at the atrium of Dolan Science Center at John Carroll University. This event is at 3:30 and is free and open to the public. I am delighted once again to be introducing the band. For over 50 years, the University Heights Symphonic Band has been delighting audiences in and around University Heights and Greater Cleveland. It is supported by the generosity of community donors and is subsidized in part by the city of University Heights. Finally, Monday, April 8th, 2024 will be a blackout to remember in University Heights. A total eclipse of the sun will occur on April 8th, and University Heights Walter Stinson Community Park will be one of the best places to be in. Join us at the wall to celebrate the sun and view the eclipse. Enjoy coffee and snacks from the Hot Dog Coffee Truck. Participate in children's activities led by Heights Libraries, University Heights Branch. Dance and music curated by John Carroll University's Zachary DJ V13 Civico. In advance of the event, the city acquired 10,000 pairs of protective eyewear. City staff have been delivering 2 pairs of these eclipse-viewing glasses to households across the city. As of this past Friday, more than half of the city households have received their eyewear, and more were delivered today. The rest of the households will receive them by the end of this week. The rest of the eyewear will be available at the event next Monday, and you are welcome to bring your own chair. The eclipse of the sun will begin at 1:59 p.m. Totality will occur from 3:13 to 3:17 p.m. for approximately 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Totality is the only time we may safely view the eclipse directly without protective eye. You won't want to miss it, as the next total eclipse won't be visible again in the contiguous United States for another 20 years. The extended weather forecast is favorable, the intervals of clouds and sunshine and temperatures in the upper 50s. Thank you. This concludes my report.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda are reports and communications from City Council. I have no report. Does any other City Council member have anything? Okay. We are now on to reports and communications from directors, departments of finance, law, public safety, public service, and any other departments gathering. Mr. Kennedy, Department of Finance.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just want to run over some numbers through yesterday, March 31st. Net revenue for the year, this year, for that first quarter, $4,591,655. Net expenses, $4,306,739. Our unexpended balance at the end of March, $6,264,525. For all funds, that was the general fund. I should preface that. For all funds, our net revenue for the quarter, $5,869,620. Net expenses, $5,260,203. For unexpended balance for all funds in total, $11,355,304. And I did update, I have some updated numbers today. Using income tax agency. Total year to date that we've received for the first, we've actually got 4 collections this month. This year, $3,532,228. Last year at this time, we had collected for the first week in April. April represents the March collections. That total last year, $3,598,603. So we're off by $66,000 during this year. But last, it's declined to 2.4%. Again, that was primarily due to a refund that was issued in January. Collections in April, filing date being in April, will be big for us. So we're looking for big receipts in the first week of May from the April collections. Last year in May, we collected $1,570,556. Other than that, we are waiting for audit 2023. We'll have the auditors, excuse me, on site. The week of the end of the questions. I'll get these current reports out this week once we close the audit.
Thank you. Have any questions for Mr. Kennedy?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. First day today, I attended the mayor's staff meeting this morning and talked to a couple of department heads later today about some upcoming projects. So we need to get to work on those and whatever else.
Thank you. Okay, public safety, Chief Rogers. So actually, Chief Rogers, do you mind coming up to the podium? I have a question. Thank you. I actually had 2 questions. Thanks so much. I know that during one of the events in the summer, I'm not sure if it was a lieutenant or one of the sergeants had a fingerprinting kit for the students. They were going to go into PRD and JZoo, and I think it was kindergarteners that they were trying to get fingerprinted. Did that ever happen yet?
Yes, we've utilized those fingerprint kits for some time. Finally, part of our network for office supplies that we utilize on a regular basis. Probably very soon.
Okay, but they don't do, I know that we were talking that they were gonna try to get together with Cleveland Heights and try to get into the elementary schools and actually make some kind of program where they would go into the kindergartens and have all the kindergarteners get fingerprinted. Was that ever discussed?
I have to look into that further, get more specifics on that. Again, the fingerprint kits we do.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other questions for Chief Rogers?
Chief, is there plans in terms of what's going to happen Wednesday, Thursday, sorry, and left east? Because the South Taylor was so congested to begin with. And since that's been announced, that Watson will be there, there should be a rather large presence of people.
Yeah, we coordinated on the process, coordinated with the owners of the property, as well as Cleveland Heights to ensure that the security needs
have resources, develop the application.
Okay, one other question, is there an issue on, just it's okay, you
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Chief Roberts.
Sure.
Okay, Fire Chief Burko.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to expand on the mayor's report about the solar eclipse, and just talk about safety a little bit, specifically the importance of the safety glasses that the city is issuing out there. This information comes from our medical control provider, University Hospitals, with our 3 shifts to go over safety. So I just wanted to point out why looking at the sun is so dangerous. It's because of an overload of solar radiation. It can damage the photoreceptor cells in your eyes, and that can sometimes be permanent. So we want to stress the use of quality eclipse glasses. They protect you in ways that regular sunglasses cannot. And we want people to be aware of counterfeit glasses. The ones that the city purchased are the ones that are what you want to look for, and it has an ISO standard on it. Cameras, binoculars, telescopes, you still don't want to look through those without the use of safety glasses. And it's questionable if you should look at a cell phone video without the use of safety glass. Injury is likely to cause pain or discomfort because their retina does not have pain energy. Symptoms can take up to 6 to 12 hours to cure. Those symptoms could be a headache, blurry vision, sensitivity to light, or a blind spot, like a black spot in your vision. If that occurs, we stress that someone schedule an appointment with an eye care provider. It's not necessarily something that's an emergency, and the provider will work with them. Usually they can expect recovery in a few months, although in severe cases, it could be longer or sometimes permanent. So again, it should be a safe event for everybody. Something spectacular. You just want to stress that they use the glasses and the right kind of glasses. If you're concerned about pets, there should be no concern for them. And last, we expect to have a congestion of cell phones across all carriers. So if you can't get service during that period of time, just be patient and try to plan ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any other questions for Chief Burko? Okay, service, Mr. Pennington.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good evening. First of all, I want to announce that we began today the spring cleanup for our tree lawn, yard debris, and leaves, which will be going on throughout the month of April. Just ask residents to place items on their tree lawn in regards to brush, leaves, that sort of thing, and we will be around to collect that periodically. On another note, we are again this year performing a free Passover collection on Monday, April 22nd. We ask that residents have all non-kosher items bagged and out on their tree lawn before 7:30 a.m. We will do the collection from 7:30 a.m. and that day. So again, that would be similar to what we've done in previous years. And then the final item I want to bring up tonight is that we did roll out the opt-in for the recycling program. We did a soft rollout on Friday evening, March 22nd, and then began promoting it throughout the city this past week. As of 5:30 p.m. tonight, we have had 636 residents opt in to the program, with 8 officially filling out the special assistance forms, and 38 additional that requested special assistance but have not yet turned in their special assistance form. I've made contact with these residents, asking them to follow up and fill out the special assistance form. Out of the 636 that have opted in, 517 have asked for the 95-gallon cans, with 119 asking for the 48-gallon cans. The smaller cans amount to 18.7% of the overall can requests. And that's what I have to report.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Yeah, Ms. Leslie?
Mr. Pennington, in the corruption, is that I again, corporate plans or Bruce, what?
We will get some links for us, but we do have to be kept in the manageable links in order for us to be able to pick it up with our workers.
Thank you.
Ms. Six?
Thank you so much. I'm very excited that this program is finally, moving forward, rolling out. Our household did, fill out the application. We did not request assistance, but I did get a, screenshot of what the questions were, because we had to kind of go to, continue to go in. And, it is concerning because we spent quite a bit of time at the last Service and Utilities Committee meeting, really discussing about how to reduce or eliminate barriers to the greatest extent possible so that as many households could participate. One of those barriers being, the need for assistance. There could be a variety of reasons why a household would need assistance. And the fact that we're asking for medical government, the government is asking for medical food is concerning, because it could be any type of, thing that the person would need, medical, health, behavioral, and, I worry that some people would then choose not to recycle because it's really none of the government's business for recycling purposes. And B, for those people who did, submit for assistance, but perhaps are being denied, the possibility that they would perceive it as being arbitrary or discriminatory. So I think I know you and I spoke about, and I believe in the meeting, asking the law director for guidance. Was that asked for?
I've not had a chance to ask the law director, but in regards to the questionnaire, there are 3 ways to apply. One is being 75 years of age or older. 2 is being disabled, which we do have an age location there that they have a position indicate they have a need, but not necessarily give us what that need is. And the third is a line designated as other, which is where we would look at various requests that may not be within the purview of the other 2 categories and make a determination on those based upon the needs. Needs, however, is not a need for special assistance, which I've only find one person so far in the program at special assistance.
It says that the information that's being uploaded is confidential. Who has access to that? Who is viewing that information?
I have the access to that.
So you're making a unilateral decision?
Yes.
Okay. What I'd like to ask, at the June 10th Service and Utilities Committee meeting, if you would please provide a report of all people who requested assistance but were denied. I'd be interested, and I think the committee would be interested in the reasons. And I also want to ask the public, if anyone is reluctant to sign up because they are worried about providing such confidential information, to reach out to council and administration and let us know so we can perhaps help Mr. Pennington with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In regards to that, we did follow similar pattern to what both Beechwood and Cleveland Heights used. Cleveland Heights used a 75-year limit. Beechwood used 8-year stage on their limit. So our policy did follow closely in alliance with our neighbors.
And, I think ageism is a discriminatory thing. I'm not sure why. I've worked with older adults my whole life. In fact, our agency, our older adult services program starts at 55. So I'm not sure what that's based on. And, I even asked you, if you were 80 or 75, because, you know, we all have personal issues, from time to time that could, impair how we, whether or not we're able to bring the trash to the curb, the recycling. So, again, I worry about that, and if someone, may question that seriously. Thank you.
Ms. Marshall, do you have a question?
I do.
So, I do.
Can you speak to the mic?
Okay.
I just wanted to get clarification, so when you said that you were, reviewing the forms and you were the person receiving the confidential information and making a decision, and that includes medical decisions?
The certification on that would be something where if they submit, they would have a position submit. That form is loaded in there and I look at it, as long as it's a valid reason, they're just checked off as one being approved. I don't look into what their ailment is. I just I look at their certification.
So how do you determine it is a valid reason? That's what you're confusing. Because the valid reason means you're looking at the medical diagnosis of whatever it is they're submitting to you, and you yourself are determining if that medical reason is acceptable or not. No,
If there is a medical diagnosis, that typically is something that would be considered approvable. Where I make a determination more in the lines is if someone puts on other, it says, because I don't feel like they can, those are the ones that get it out.
so what type of medical, I guess I'm still confused, and how do you, what are your qualifications to determine what medical condition is an acceptable or typical one that should keep them from getting? I'm just trying to understand what is your qualifications in that area.
I am not looking at it from a medical professional perspective.
Okay,
I'm looking at it, did they provide a medical reason? And if they have provided a medical reason, I don't get into questioning that part. I just, I check off.
so as long as the doctor says
Correct.
they can't take the trash out for medical reasons, then that's that.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Ms. Weiser?
I'd like to direct this question to Mr. Bryan. When those forms come in, since they're held here, are they accessible on a public information request? No, they would not. It's medical. That would be an exception. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Follow up. If it isn't medical, if someone gave age, that's accessible? I think what I'm asking is how much of the information the city is collecting in order to make this determination is shielded from a public information request that I would hope would never come and we would never think would come. But you know as well as I do, there's always a surprise somewhere. So how much of it is protected?
I guess I would be looking at further medical information, something that's protected. Personal information such as, we're not asking for social security numbers, those types of things, you know, bank account numbers that normally be protected, age, I'm not so sure. So.
I mean, I understand why we need to do it. And I, you know, in order to ensure there's a legitimate reason why the city should come up with things and do it back and forth. But I think that's it also could be a sticky wicket. Because of the fact that a lot of information the city collects is accessible under public information requests. And it is something that every city has to juggle, so yeah, if you would look into it, I'd certainly appreciate it. I think sometimes when we put parameters on things, we're unsure. When we finally find out about what those parameters are, at least on the council level, Sometimes it's turned out that things maybe we shouldn't have been done, so I'd rather have that clear, and that's why I'm surprised you didn't talk to the law director, that's all. They're usually much more precise than you think.
And just to follow up, I mean, some things, can't be, have to be redacted, some things are permissible, and then some things have to be. So, you look at the form and, it's on there and. Give my recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Pennington. Building department. Thank you.
I have a.
Sorry. Do you mind coming to the podium?
And I know you're just back for what, 2 weeks now, or a week and a half? 2 weeks. So you might not have the answers to these questions. Lefties came in and got all its permits. Okay. Second thing, I understand there's some stuff hanging with the signs. That they had to go back to ARB. Has any of that happened yet?
They submitted today their final signs, and we forwarded that to the board. And they have been discussing back and forth by email all day prior to the meeting coming up next week. Their thoughts on the one side. So,
One final question, you know, this is something I've been following up on a consistent basis. Pizza Bogo, what's going on with them?
last week they pulled some more plumbing permits and things, and I've been in contact with them. And they appear to be proceeding at a fairly normal rate, perhaps not quite as fast as some commercial jobs, but they are proceeding consistently.
Okay. And one final question, only because of the mess with Family Dollar, for a lot of that work, there weren't permits pulled or anything in regards to that. Those ancillary things that are outside of Whole Foods, were permits pulled for those, or were permits even necessary?
That was actually before my time or during the time I was gone. Nothing, the only Whole Foods things that have happened since I've been back was they pulled a permit, or I take that back. They submitted plans which are under review for our fire alarm system last week. And so those are under review right now. There was nothing about it. You're talking about the little buildings up front?
Yeah.
I saw those today when I drove down to. I did not remember seeing those when I was here before. So are those new?
It's sort of fairly new thing.
There, to my knowledge, I have not seen any indication that those submitted for permits or approvals, and by state law, those would require approval. So I can look into that. Yeah.
I'd appreciate it. I know when we had the issue with Family Dollar, they had those smaller ones. They were smaller than the ones that are at Whole Foods. And I think when we finally got Dennis to go over there and really take a look, that was one of the things he listed. And it be permitted, that wasn't permitted. Of course, they did all the interior work without permits as well.
So I did notice I hit the brakes when I went by, and I did notice there were like electric panels on the outside
Yeah.
of them and everything. Has the fire been over there, Bob, at all? I'm sure. Okay, I can talk to Andy. Luke, I'll talk to them. I'll be with Luke at the Lefties at 9 a.m. So we'll maybe stop and look into that.
I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Cheeto.
Thank you. Housing. Mr. Anderson.
Good evening. The grass cutting bid that was sent out 2 weeks ago didn't actually have any bids. So I talked with Kelly and we resubmitted advertisements for March 28th and April 4th. The bids will be opened April 11th. I've already actually heard from two companies who will be submitting bids. So it's not gonna go, April 11th, we'll open the bids and we'll be able to alert council as to who the new bidder or who the bidder was that wins, along with their pricing and their qualifications. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you, Ms. Weiser.
I have a few questions.
Yes.
The exterior letter,
I actually sent that to your email today.
when
Before, well, say about 5 o'clock or so.
I checked my email at 5:15, 5:20,
You might want to check it.
so it came in after. I can pull it up now.
Okay.
Couple of questions on this.
Sure.
According to the minutes from 3:18, which we just approved, you had indicated you were working on that letter with Mr. Cicero that week. Did that happen?
Can't remember if we actually worked on it that week or not. I do remember that it was at least 2 weeks ago. We talked about it. Last week, he sent me his red line version, which I looked at, and there was one small change that I made before I sent it to you.
It was 6:50.
Okay,
I have it here.
okay.
What I got. The second question is the follow-up. When we had the building housing meeting, it was discussed for that letter to go out to the 400 homes
Yeah.
that had not been inspected. Will it be going out?
Yes.
When will it be going out?
I believe during the meeting, we discussed it being reviewed before it goes out. So if it's reviewed at the meeting, it'll go out after the meeting.
Okay. One final question. Why did it take almost 6 months? I'm just curious.
Got 6 months for,
We started talking about the fact that, well, let me put it this way. You had sent me the original letter, which I sent to Mr. McConville. This was back in November. This is April. So 5 months later, we finally have gotten to the point of what Mr. McConville had told the administration, and I understand he met with you and the mayor on it, that it had to be changed. Why did it take 5 months? And the reason I'm asking is not because I want to pick, but because some of those residents over there have been posting about this on a discussion board. They have been following up with me very religiously. When would they get new information? Was it valid? What is the new information? I just want to know why it took that.
during the building committee, one of the building committee meetings, actually more than one. I believe I explained that the decision was made to not send the letter out. That's the reason why. That's it.
And we asked you to write the letter so we could see it. I mean, we could have had this all approved a couple of months ago, Jeff. Mr. Engelbert, usually you're much more efficient. And even you will admit that. You follow up on things, you do these things. For some reason, this letter just never moved. And it's a
Yeah,
problem.
The decision was made to not send the letter out. That's it.
And we kept asking why. I'm serious. You know, I don't. If it was above your pay grade, that's fine. Then maybe I should direct my question to the person that said don't send it, rather than you. Were you aware the letter wasn't getting anywhere, Mayor?
I'm fully aware that we initially did not send the letter, that we were going to work on this prospectively. This was a letter that we've been using for quite a few years here in the city. And at the time, I was under the impression that most of the work had already been done and that sending a letter out would be confusing on getting new information about how there were still a number of homes that had not yet been inspected and that there'd been a fair amount of time that had gone by. We went ahead and said, let's go ahead and prepare that letter and go ahead and send it to the homes that had not yet been inspected, instead of just waiting until we move on to the next phase of the program. We went over this in committee. We've discussed this already, so I'm giving you no new information.
No, we didn't, because all we heard was, no, we're not gonna send the letter out. And anytime we asked for the new letter to be constructed, we got nowhere. So as far as the committee was concerned, we were just in limbo. And some of these things seem to take an inordinate amount of time. I'm glad it's finally done.
Well, I'm
But
hearing
it's-
a lot of complaints here this evening about the law department. We've been going through a transition in our law department. Our new law director was sworn in a few moments ago. We have a number of things that Mr. McConville was working on, a number of things that Mr. McConville did not finish. Mr. Bryan is going to be taking over quite a few things that remain outstanding. The work in the city, of course, continues, and we're happy to have Mr. Bryan on board. Mr. Engelbrecht has numerous tasks besides drafting this letter and then awaiting review from either the law director or the assistant. So I would not put this on Mr. Engelbrecht. I think the line of questioning here is unnecessary and unfair.
I don't. And the reason I don't, Mayor, is this. That took probably when Mr. Engelbrecht sat down with Mr. Cicero. It probably didn't take all that long because the procedure had been laid out by Mr. McConville when he met with both you and Mr. Engelbrecht, because he sent me an email about it. So it was done back in November. All it had to do was be put together. I get it that some of these things slip through the cracks. And I get it that sometimes you don't want to move on them for whatever reason. But the council's the one that gets residents that ask legitimate questions. And yes, probably that letter was written at a time when it was legal for the city to just go into the backyards and inspect. But you know as well as I do, Ohio law changes because there are court cases that come out. And we need to be sharper than that. We need to be able to tell our residents legal ways that we can do things so that we don't end up, because they find out people were posting the court cases in UH discussion. That's pretty bad when they post a court case and say the city of University Heights doesn't know what it's doing. It's an embarrassment to the city. Thank you, Mr. Engelbrecht.
Ms. Marshall?
I'd like to admit something, Larry, you said that there was a lot of complaining about the law department, can you tell me an example? I totally missed it.
I think we're well off track here. This is. Departments.
About what was the, I missed the complaint about the law department. Who was complaining about the law department? I missed it.
I don't understand your question.
Then you said that today you have had a lot of complaints, we're hearing a lot of complaints about the law department. I missed the complaint, I didn't hear anybody complaining. I was asking you what complaints you heard about the law department.
I'm talking about several things that have been brought up this evening about what the law department may or may not have done in conjunction with what the administration is doing. Anything from the cart pickup and the information that was requested to now this item about the letter.
I didn't make that connection at all, so maybe I just don't want to miss information out here, I didn't want to hear about what.
Ms. Ennis?
Thank you. The information about the recycling had nothing to do with action or inaction by the law department. It had to do with inaction by the administration. And your comments just now going to, I have the floor, I have the floor, I have the floor, I have the floor. I have the floor, Mayor. Excuse me, I have the floor. Thank you. It's yet another attempt, more than an attempt, it is deflecting from administrative accountability. All I did, I had spoken to Mr. Pennington directly, and we talked about the importance of him speaking with you, with the law director, before making such a decision. For the reason I stated publicly in the committee meeting, and again publicly now, that last thing we want is for someone to perceive an injustice that they could not get their recycling at the backyard because of a perceived discriminatory decision or something like that. And so that had nothing to do with the law director not taking an action. That's what I meant. I hope that's clear. Thank you.
Mayor, please.
No. Out of order.
All right, we're up to the city engineer.
Good evening. So I'm just working on plan reviews, trying to set up street repair program, pavement marking program. Doing some feedback to the water on the full speed water replacement. And our surveyors were out here, working on the Yavi survey today, today, and they'll be back out hopefully tomorrow, so so.
Thank you. Ms. Hans?
Thank you, thank you. It is a pleasure to welcome you. I appreciated our discussion. We look forward to you presenting at the June 10th Service and Utilities Committee meeting at 6 o'clock regarding the street repair program and whatever else you would like to help us understand better. It is something very near and dear to residents to know your and the administration's plan to move forward with street and curb repairs. And we spoke also about oftentimes there are more intensive needs on certain streets. So to learn more and to understand better what to expect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to communications.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I have 2 items to report on tonight. As the mayor mentioned earlier, the city in April 11th at the library. The mayor's speech stayed for the announcement of the summer concert series through our annual live video. We also have announcements on performers at Fall Fest and some, not all, of performers at the Juneteenth celebration. Secondly, as Mr. Pennington mentioned earlier, we've done rolling out communications on the opt-in program. They'll continue through May 31st and slowly ramp up from there. Our goal is to contact through a bunch of different methods, try to reach every resident 3 times. And the strategy there is if they reach 3 times, they've known about it and they can choose to opt in, choose not to opt in. So that's what our goal is, and I think through Mosaic, through social media, through emails, through websites, through the postcards that will happen, city events, and even some other ways that perhaps we haven't thought of yet. So a lot of things happen between now and in May, and we'll get that message out to residents, and they can decide if the program is something that they want to participate in at this time. What I want to avoid is I don't want anyone waking up June 1st. Or waking up in the fall when everyone on the street has cars. Like, where's mine? I didn't know about that. So I want to make sure that everyone knows about it. And we'll try to use as many different methods as possible. Some people will hear about it 25 times, but some people might hear it once, twice, but at least 3 times is our goal with it.
Thank you. Ms. Hans?
Thank you. I am so glad to hear that. My husband kept saying, how are people supposed to hear about it? How are people supposed to know? Now, I had told him, so he signed up. But he's still waiting to see. So Does the mosaic go to every single household?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's good. That's what we-
Right. So that's
Yes,
one.
everybody, that's one. Wonderful. Okay, I'm looking forward to hearing about that, and hopefully that hearing that people didn't hear about. I do have a question about the recycling rollout at 344 today that I got. So I noticed, scrolling down the bottom, right, but scrolling to the bottom, there was a picture of two carts. There were two different sized blue carts and then a big green cart. Could you tell me what the big green cart is?
Honestly, it's just the one that I put
Okay.
so you're right. That's-
Because we don't want to, we want to meet expectations.
Yes. Fair enough.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
please
actually-
be careful, because recycling is so confusing to people.
If we're talking about the same picture, I think that was almost going to go up on the website, then to go good hard look at. Or for other reasons, that's the very good ones that you mentioned. When I'm talking about with the website, not only is already a link up on the website, we might recall other programs we've rolled out. Where you go to a website, instead of seeing the home page, it's, another, it's like a front door, because it's technical website term for it. So instead of going right to unicrusaders.com, it's like, or the opt-in program, click here to opt in, or click here to be redirected to the website. So that probably with better graphic will go tomorrow, involving.
I have another question.
Yes.
So again, I got my books packet today, and it was this, mayor said that this was not the solid waste district. Did you have anything to do with this design of the postcard that we didn't hear about?
Who's that for?
So I wanted to find out something. And get it out of the dad. Okay.
To answer your question, if you're getting out back, it's an older card and we've been using it, like I said, at least a year, maybe feel free to chime in, and I had something to do with that. Deanna worked on it, I think the county.
So the first thing I see is 24-hour drop off recycling. If that isn't confusing, I don't know what is. Okay. So, just please, make sure the message is what we're doing and perhaps it refers to cardboard or something else, but it's, not our program. Right? It's, okay. Thank you. And just you're meticulous with, some of the things that you put in the mosaic and some other things you put out, and this just was very confusing.
I understand that over the past year or so, perhaps you've been frustrated that we haven't had more stuff about
Yes.
recycling. And look, now
Yeah.
that the program is different, I don't want it to be like, I don't know, if you're familiar with the movie Men in Black, where they hold up a pad, like that, so people forget stuff. So I don't want to be here, we're gonna teach you about this. Like, forget all that, because here's a new program. So I would rather say, I think it would be easier for residents to explain it once as opposed to, let's work a little bit more on the old program. Now here's the new program. Is it a perfect plan? Maybe, maybe not, but that's the direction.
And it's Wednesday.
Number one, I'm glad you're feeling that. I hear that, please, yes. Two questions. The Friday thing, I went on the survey. Who designed that survey?
I'm sorry, which survey, please?
It was a survey about recreation. There was a link to a survey.
That was, let's see. Mostly Dan Brown Fisher. I had seen drafts. I don't know if the interns worked on that as well, I believe. Councilman Cooney may have seen that. There were a couple different directions.
Yeah, we actually discussed that recreation. That was discussed in the last recreation.
That's something I got notification of like the day before it happened, and unfortunately I had something booked. I would love to.
The doodle went out.
I wasn't on the doodle.
I did request for all recommend.
I wasn't on your doodle.
You want me to speak or you just want to keep talking?
Okay.
When I sent a request, Thomas, all of our committee members and council and the mayor. So I did ask that all council members get put on the email.
Didn't get it, sorry. On it, there is a question about a dog,
Correct.
note about 1 acre being used. That it takes up to 1 acre.
And we discussed that at the previous, not the last, but the one prior, if there would be interest for it, and that's why the question was put on the survey.
I know. There's, if you'll let me finish, Mr. Green, there's my point. Probably 95% of the people in the city do not know how big our park is. Whether it's 2 acres, 3 acres, 5 acres, or I believe it is 6 acres. So if you're asking if they're gonna approve something or want something that would take 1/6 of the park, you might get a different response from somebody who thinks it's only 1/3 of the park. That's all. In developing surveys, that is an issue that can come up. The second thing, I just wanted to make that point. Second thing, once again, what's going on with the live stream?
What happened, it's working now. What happened at the beginning of the meeting is, and Chloe, jump in if I'm misstating anything. You have to update the app to get it started. Unfortunately, updating the app this evening took longer than anticipated. We usually get updating the app, it's 5 minutes, it's took 20 minutes or longer. So the entire meeting, probably in 2 forms, will be, I mean, it's streaming now. That's completely, but it's streaming now. But what we'll do to make it whole, we can probably do 2 things. It's a little redundant, but one, stream the entire olive thing. And then the second, I can splice together the olive part that covered when the live stream wasn't working, put that together with live streaming. And then there's 2 ways people can watch it. I know some fans are, some residents are like one format more than the other. So it's unfortunate that happened today, but I think that we have an intern for it. It's very slow to figure it out.
I can appreciate the issue because there is always the time when you go to jump on Zoom and it wants to update. I've always learned to double check Zoom well in advance of a start time, and you might want to do that since it's picking up. Because there are people that feel they get better audio. And considering the mayor made such a commitment and has followed through on it, and I think it's wonderful that we will be as transparent as possible with our meetings. I think trying to always default to Zoom and the owl, we do lose, and I think you and I have talked about this. Number one, people that don't get into the minds.
I understand.
So that people don't say. Things like that are frustrating to a resident who actually has taken the time to log on and either run the tape or run the thing. And if we get better audio quality, I think it's important. I think, we're all here for the residents and for us. So thank you for the explanation though.
Yeah, thank you. That's fair criticism, and while I think none of us will ever be perfect, we'll keep striving.
Wasn't meant as criticism.
Okay.
It really wasn't. It was meant to point it out.
Yeah.
We work together, and if we can't point things out,
Absolutely.
we're not going to.
Yeah, maybe I could have.
That's okay. Thank you.
You said that it takes sometimes 5 minutes to update, but it took 20 today. Now, is that, when you say it takes 5 minutes to update, is that when you push start to start the meeting, the updating takes place? Or can it be prepared prior to the start of the meeting?
That I don't know, but we'll get here earlier. We'll make sure that it's. Yeah. Or maybe it was longer than 20. There were.
The update wasn't the issue. I was able to update it perfectly fine, but it was crashing every single time I was trying to open the app. And I don't have access to the Google Play Store in order to uninstall and install it, so I will have to work on that tomorrow when I'm in the office. But I just have it on my own mobile device right now. That's why I got it upload. It's still not working on the tablet. So it's not the update that was the problem, it was the app that was the problem.
So maybe we need to have something available. And I don't know, Chloe, if you had access to like a laptop, if you had been able to do that update easier. I'm just asking, I don't know. It's just,
No, it's on program called Mevo. I'm not too familiar with it. I'm learning it. I think maybe I'll do a transport and see if I can get it in the laptop too.
you'll have to pick Mr. Cook's brain on that one. Or are you, no, I know, the interns are a lot more technologically, yeah, they beat us every time, Mr. Cook. But maybe one of them can magic.
If the interns can't figure it out, we'll find a nine.
Sounds good with me. Thank Chloe.
Thank you. Yeah, sure, Mr. Cooper.
Ms. Weiss, were you implying that the survey was gonna put a dog park at the Walt?
Yeah,
It doesn't say that in the survey at all. It does not say it. It just says, would you be interested in a dog park, essentially, so questions.
which takes an acre.
There's other land in the city besides the Walt where it could go. Right now, we're gauging interest.
Ah,
That's the reason why there are questions without being specific as to where it would be.
yeah, you're right, Mr. Cooney, but everybody under the sun has said, we have talked about, which is why the assumption was made, because people have said that.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
clarification.
Thank you, Mrs. Weiss.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Hubbard. Hey, Ms. Drucker.
Mayor and council, I do not know what I do need to request an executive session tonight.
Ms. Drucker, could I ask, next time, you used to give like what our vacancies were for commercial, things like that, could you report that next time?
I will definitely, yes, I actually have those. Not off the top of my head, but I do.
Hey, Ms. Weiser.
Welcome back.
Thank you, everyone, for the well. Okay.
Thank you.
That executive session.
Yeah, Mr. Rock.
Stone Code, you know what our next steps are and when they're gonna be re-engaged in the activity getting started?
Yes, I, actually, we were in contact today, so they said in the next couple weeks, they should be giving me some materials. Because how we discussed the Warrensville project, just they're talking about the new districts, and then their timeline would be for, by the end of summer, to have a full administrative, ready for a full administrative review. But they'll be giving me materials to start in ahead of time. And then, but yeah, they said in the next 2-3 weeks, they could be sending us some information.
So let me ask you, and maybe this is what you asked them, whether it's your preference or preference, but at some point, when should we engage the committee to, look at what we have seen, elicit feedback, so that they're not creating zoning codes around something that maybe we're not interested in, or maybe not, I don't know, but we have to gauge that interest from the committee. Do you think we should do it before the next step, or after the next meeting, before that?
My understanding was they are going to send me the information. I would disperse that when we talk about getting a meeting scheduled, because that was always, it was to keep everything going along, but to make sure that the committee members had that information before we had the meeting publicly. But, and then remember, we're also going to have actual public hearings where we want to hear from the residents when we have something to present to the residents. But yes, we are supposed to have another meeting in person like we did at the library.
Okay, so, maybe more.
Looking at some, that's before they do all that. Right?
Yeah, I just want to make sure they're not putting time into something that maybe we're just not gonna put out, put over. But I learned that from many members, so there's been some feedback in the meeting, which it would be good to hear from the committee members, is this the right direction?
Right.
yes or no, so we can tailor the approach.
And I think the last two meetings we've had, it's been really good dialogue for the folks that have come to the meetings, even if somebody's not on the committee, because it's been a smaller group. Everybody's has a chance to speak up. So there has been some really good dialogue. So we want to keep that going.
Thank you. Okay, great. Great. Now go to the main agenda. Agenda letter A is ordinance 2024-15, providing Cuyahoga County consent to construct the resurfacing of Warrensville Center Road from Fairmount to Cedar and University Heights and declaring an emergency on first reading. I know we have Mr. Mack from an engineer from the county here. I'm not sure, Mayor, if you want to introduce this.
Yes, Eric Mack is here. He is from the Cuyahoga County Department of Public Works. He is the chief planning and programming engineer at the county. He is also a University Heights resident. He happens to be the one that's presenting this evening. He has brought a presentation this evening. He is I think the laptop went to sleep in the interim, but it looks like it's back up now. And with that, I would say that we don't necessarily have to pass this evening if you don't have all your questions answered, but not to take away from Mr. Mack's presentation, but keep things on track. We will want to pass something shortly and by the beginning of next. So it's my hope that this presentation will answer your questions, and we can either, take this up on emergency this evening or take it up at the next. So without further ado, Mr. Mack.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. So tonight's presentation, I wanted to talk to you about. The county has several different funding sources for roadway projects. This particular road received NOACA federal aid. So NOACA puts together like a list of projects based upon the paving condition rating as well as the average daily traffic for the agency. And once they have their list, they then finalize it and they allocate funds to that list. So the county participates annually in this, and we have about 10 projects ongoing every year in one phase or another. And so how this program typically works is that the federal participation is like 80%. And then the local match, which is 20, then gets split 10% from the community and then 10% from the county. That's how we typically do it. And how this happened was NOACA funded not only University Heights, but also South Houston. So the stretch of the project goes from Fairmount all the way up to Mayfield. And so when there's multiple cities involved, they ask us to oversee that, to then assist. And so again, I talked about the construction, that 80-20 split, and then the design, we typically handle 60%, and then each city has the remaining 40%. So as I said, this is a resurfacing project, and through the course of the design, we can figure out what the final lane configuration is, and what the striping pattern is. I know we had a resident talk about wanting narrower lanes and that kind of thing. That's all on the table and it's part of the design process. So we're trying to get to that design process, and I'll have some more slides here. We have nearly 20,000 cars a day out on that stretch, and the pavement condition rating is fair to 4. And according to our numbers, it was read that it was last rehab in 2001 and then 2007. Typically, we like to resurface roads every 10 to 15 years. It's 2.3 miles, and it's in 2 different county council districts, 10 and 11. Here is the funding breakdown. These are approximate costs based off of the federal contributions. So Euclid's at the top, and then University Heights is at the bottom. And so we have federally, they've given us $3 million. So that is 80% of 3.75 million. So that's how we got to 3.75. And then, like I said earlier, we would split with the city the additional fund of so 10%. So each would have 375,000. The design, which is approximately 5% of the construction, is 187,000. That would be split. That would be split 60-40. And then during construction, after we have awarded to some contractor, we then monitor the construction, and we have in-house staff that handles it, and they would be working out there every day, and we would split that 50-50, and that's typically how we would do things. So a grand total, the project is going to cost the city $543,000, and it's going to cost the county $581,000. So with that cost, there is also potentially this fall, there is another grant that we can pursue through the OPWC, which is the Ohio Public Works Fund, and we can chase additional funds to help cover that local percent. So where we're at now is we need to find an engineering firm that can do the plans for us. We use in-house staff to review the plans and also process the plans. And then on February 1st, we put an RFQ out on the street, and we got 11 different firms, and we use quality-based county standard procedure to then select on March 19th 3 firms. We have 3 firms being AECOM, Sugar Valley Engineering, and HNTV. We have and are in the process of making the formal contract to the county council right now. What we would like is the city's input on what firm to use as part of this design process. And then from there, the county can scope and contract with that firm. So we typically follow this for all of our roadway projects, and every year we hire 3 firms. Once the design is complete, we will then build it. And my last slide is this is scheduled. So last spring, NOACA approved this money. So that's the spring of 23. And then the county approached the cities during the fall of 23 after it was finalized. And then they contact us, then we contact each city. And we are in the scope scheduled B stage right now. We're going to then hopefully move into a design during the summer and fall. And then the final design will be the fall of 24 to the spring of 25. And we imagine this selling to a contractor in the fall of 25. This construction then would begin in the spring of 26, and it's a 2 calendar year type of construction because it follows in 2.3 miles. And the same package that we sent to Beautiful Heights has also been sent to South Euclid, and we received confirmation that they're working through their internal council system right now to approve it through South Euclid. So we would need confirmation by May 1st to stay on schedule. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for coming, and the University Heights. Okay, so I have a few questions. When would University Heights have to lay out the funds to the county?
So typically on this type of project, once the construction is bid, which will be the fall of 25, we select whatever contractor is going to do that construction for whatever the dollar amount is. We will then invoice the city for their portion, so that 500 and whatever number that was.
Okay.
So it'll be the fall of.
So we have about 18 months to get that money together. Okay, and is there a typical amount, you said that Public Works possibly has more grant funding available. Is there a typical amount that they give?
So the Ohio Public Works grant is a competitive grant, and the county has had great success with it. And in that, because we have a project that's federally funded, we show that there is a large portion already committed to the project, which helps us score. So we would most likely chase the 20% remaining that you're covering market as well as each city share. The part of it. So in essence, we walk away with just several $100,000 on each. Greatly reducing that number down from $500,000.
So you're saying it could be 20%.
Right.
So up to 20%.
Because we don't know what the competition is as far as throughout the state. But typically speaking, this project would score well. So that's why we would pursue it. And that's every September. And then we find out around December.
And the county is the one that applies for
We
that.
are this month, yes.
Okay, so we have another possibility of getting 20% off.
Yes,
Okay, and then my last question, or actually I have two more questions. It's both sides awards,
yes,
correct?
yes, it's the 5 lanes. With both sides of Warrensville, meaning, which, yeah.
I'm saying it's both,
South Euclid and University.
no, I'm saying both directions, north and south.
Yes, both,
Okay.
yeah, both directions.
Okay, and also, does the city have any input on? We had these bump outs that were made a few years ago that are not working for our city. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, by like Hillhook over there.
Okay.
We thought, and actually I think, was it Noaka that did it? I think it was.
We're talking about the Big Law Crossing, so there's 2 of them, on Warrensville Center Road and our stretch of the city.
And whatever the city would like to do with them, whether they keep them, want to take it out, we are willing to work with the
So
city.
we have input.
Yes, for sure. Also with the striping, we want to talk about what that final transfer section looks like, the lane width, the bike lanes, parking, whatever it is. So yes, you definitely have an input. So typically, when we have a stage review process, we will have the plans and we give them to the city engineer to then review. So we send them to ODOT as well. So we have a month and then they look at them and they have the comments and we then incorporate them to the next stage.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, Red.
Yeah, thank you for providing these slides. It's very helpful. And you mentioned that the city will have a say in the selection of a firm.
Yes,
Okay. So
we would like to get your input on what firm, because we don't have a scope schedule yet. We can only do that based off of their previous work and their qualifications. And so we can send you their statements about qualifications.
yeah, that would be very helpful. I was actually surprised to see 2 very large firms and 1 not so large firm. So it's a good mix. So I'd like to see what those documents look like. The one thing I'd like to address, I don't know if this is affects our timing or our schedule, but it's a very important item. Is we're in the middle of a zoning redo right now. One of the components of that zoning comprehensive redo is to look at Warrensville Center Road, how that's programmed, and we talk about doing mixed use, density, townhome, that sort of thing. And the discussion came up in our strategy session of overnight parking on Warrensville Center Road. So if that's something that we're going to consider, yeah, we were just discussing for flush. We're going to have another meeting in the summer, and I don't see this completing maybe the end of the year. How would that sort of thing impact the schedule? Because there are things that we need to figure out internally here. Whether we do on street parking overnight versus not doing that. So looking at what, 'cause it sounds like you don't have a scope yet, full design scope. I guess, would the engineer be engaged in that as a, like a programming item, or is it a master plan for?
It sounds like that's more of a city has to figure out what they want to do and how they want the lane configuration to look, and whether it's parking or bike lanes or whatever. Once you tell us, we can incorporate that in the plans. So we're going to sell this the fall of 25. So we have about 18 months to figure out. Is that enough time for you in the city?
Well, 18 months seems like a good amount of time, but when I see here that the design will begin this fall, I have a little bit of concern about that because, you know, there's conversation here, do we do a road diet, bring these curbs in? Okay, but then what happens if we decide to do on-street parking, and we spend all this money on curbs and have to move it back? So I want to make sure we get it done right. This is a really important project. It's a very expensive project. I guess, when do you need to have from the city an answer of what those lanes would look like?
I would say ahead of the final design, so I would say the winter of 25. We would need to know what the final lane configuration, because that's during the final design process.
So in the final design, so the winter of 25 is throughout the final, okay.
Yeah, so like probably somewhere in that range, because we're talking about striping.
Yeah.
This is a resurfacing project, so we're going to resurface from curb to curb, kind of, and leave the curves there. So it's gonna be whatever the paint on the pavement looks like for what you want within that area.
Sure. Okay, so you're thinking, you know, January, February 25.
Right.
It's envisioned, okay.
But we can make adjustments, because again, if it's not getting into curb bump outs, it's just paint put on pavement.
The paint's not, I get that,
Yeah.
because curbs are expensive, so
Right.
if the strategy is to bring the curbs in. And then at the end of our zoning meeting, we decide we want overnight parking, we gotta bring it back out. That's gonna be a headache, so I wanna make sure we see that. So, sounds like we'll have some more engagement meetings for summer. Get our act together, but okay, so now you know, early winter 20. Okay.
Ms. Weiser.
Okay. I know years ago, part of it was grant, part of it was loan. Is the county thinking this would come as a grant or a loan?
In regards to,
What potentially we might get from
we typically do not take a loan from the OWC, because it's not fiscally responsible to take a loan out on a road, because it's gonna need repair within 10 to 15 years. And you're getting back a loan, and by the time you've done the back, you do it. We would do it possibly on a structure like a bridge, like something more expensive, you know, larger. So this would be
a grant.
yes.
But I just wanted to clarify that because I know they have two different programs.
For sure.
that they run.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we do not typically do the loan.
Yes,
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With part of the construction being in University Heights and the other being in South Euclid, do you foresee, and lasting over a couple of years, do you foresee construction on one side happening 1 year and then construction on the other side the other year?
Because we don't have plans yet, but seeing the layout of the project, I would say that yes, probably Cedar Road will be done each half. The north and south one on different years. I don't know which maybe would go first. That what the engineers will figure out as part of the design. And then also what the maintenance of traffic will look like. Well, obviously, because there's 20,000 cars, have to keep lanes open during construction, so traffic will probably be pushed to one side while the other one's under construction, and then flip it, most likely.
So could that potentially impact when we have to spend the funds, or would we be locked in at that award?
So the federal money, is like slated at. It doesn't matter how long the project takes, we just have to start the fall of 25. And that starts the project, and then we can take 3 years or 4 years. We don't want to, because we want to finish as quickly as humanly possible. But yes, so like our clock starts when we sell it.
And so that would start the clock when we owe, when our portion is.
Yes.
So we have 18 months, we can start putting some money away. And also, South Euclid on our own paved one side of from Cedar to Mayfield already.
That was Cleveland Heights,
Oh,
did that piece.
Cleveland, Heights, so,
Completely independent, yeah, so
so that helps us a little bit in terms of traffic.
up north of the Walmart on the west side is.
Ms. Yancy had something?
Oh, just a minor question. Thank you very much. This is very informative. And I feel that we were up against the it's the deadline's coming, but I see on your schedule, it said county approaches cities in fall of 2023. Did I miss something? Did you approach the city?
So we did approach it around Thanksgiving time frame. I believe the mayor put something up in January. And the reason why we stopped was because we did not have an engineering firm available to do the design at that time. And that's why we all are, so that's why we're in the process of hiring somebody now. So it's not the city's.
So it's the county engineer, okay, not the city engineer.
Right. So we
So
need,
you didn't go to South Euclid either?
no,
Okay.
the day we sent the package, which, was in the past 2 weeks.
March 19th.
March 19th.
So after the last council.
Yeah, that's when, that's like and I believe that's the day that we selected the firms as well, because we knew we had them coming. We sent the identical packages to the 2 communities.
Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
It's dealing with the federal funds and dealing with NOACA, and then dealing with, it's a long process, and people might think that 18 months is a very long time, and it's, in our world, it's like 3 days.
I just want to say, I'm a grants officer and we also deal with NOACA for purchase of vehicles. We have about, I don't know, 50 or 60 and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Israel.
Yeah, I just have a follow-up question to Mr. King's comment about the schedule. So since this does transpire over a 2-year period, is it possible that this could be in 2 bid packages, one that begins rollout, maybe that's South Euclid, that would give us more time to get our act together on our zoning and design? I don't want to rush a lifelong decision that's going to impact every resident of the city, and such a vital corridor. So is that a possibility?
Yes, that definitely is possible.
Okay.
That we get rolled out and start the South Euclid. Start the South Euclid first, and then
Not that I want to delay our project anyway, I want to make sure it's done right, and with the 2 bid packages, again, it can still be awarded to the same firm. Right. Same firm still doing their programmatic design elements and assist us with that timing is. But since now that we understand it, it's a 2 summer construction project, I think it's.
we also could look at it within the design process to see approximately like what those curb cuts or those curb bump outs would then be around that area, just to give the city and, an idea of this is what we're looking at. So we can keep it or cut it depending on the feedback that we get.
And the reason I suggested 2 bid packages as opposed to one, I don't want to have additional services transpire in the next year because we change the curve here. We're doing all this stuff after we've already did a final design. So that's why I kind of want to separate so that you're starting your early design process here, your tier. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify one thing. You mentioned before you're repaving from curb to curb. Are you replacing curbs also?
Very minimal, only if around the ADA areas that we need to update the ADA line.
So in that respect, if we decide to make any changes,
those changes.
That would be us.
That's not all about us, yeah, yeah.
Right, that would be us anyways.
That's how we got to figure it out. We're only gonna buy it once.
I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, Mr. Cooney.
Vice Mayor, thank you. This may be a question for the mayor. So is this in relation to the ordinance 2023-78? For the Warrensville resurfacing project, we discussed at the December 18th meeting.
We did, yes. In December, we did discuss Warrenville Center Road generally, and we had an early version that was merely a placeholder, but the item that's in the packet now is updated to reflect what we would actually be asking the council to pass.
And this was the information that Mr. Toon was presenting at that time, based on the limited information.
Right, you know, when you go back to the schedules, Mrs. Sachs touched on, you know, county approaches cities in fall 2023. It was in the late fall, and then Mr. Tooney and we had a discussion, and you're reflecting, you know, in December of last year when we had that discussion on record. We did report out based on the initial meeting with Mr. Mack and his motion and others with respect to this project. And getting back to what Mr. Mack is saying, and Mr. Rock and Mrs. Weiss have also touched on, you know, if we're moving to replace, you know, curbs, that's going to be the city's cost, and it will greatly expand this project. If what we can accomplish can be done with paint, then that is the ideal here for purposes of this timeline, the design, and the funds that have been provided here for this project. It's already a significant project, and I think you know, recalling the traffic calming study that GPD conducted last year with regard to Warrensville Center Road, and recalling also that the work that we are all doing together with regard to the zoning, it would seem that we would want to make our efforts at how we want the lanes to be, whatever traffic calming we want to add. If we do bike lanes that are parking protected, if we're going to do parking that's overnight because of the kind of identity development we're seeing on Warrensville Center, that we try all these things first. That doesn't mean that after this project, we want to see ourselves doing it a little more permanent than what he offers, but you know, as it is, you know, we touch on the mid-block crossings. I think most of us agree that was an interesting idea, but it didn't really work out the way we hoped. I don't think anybody's here is going to fight. I know I'm not. I don't think anybody else is either. So you know, there's something where, you know, we did go out and pay for curbs that are going to come out.
For yeah, thank you. For the mid-block crossings, I would disagree, and the reason being is that there are students crossing Warrensville heading east. Where they're located right now is not where the students are, and those should be, I would advocate to keep those, but in a different area. I mean, I don't want to get in, this is like off the weeds, but that's something that, as we discussed, I would ask for consideration. And then the other question I have for the vice mayor, this isn't redundancy based on the previous works, separate.
Right, it's an addition.
It's an addition. Thank you.
Have any other questions? So this is on first reading, so it'll come on the next.
Are we declaring it? That's the way it's phrased. We need to modify the agenda.
If somebody wants to make that motion, otherwise we'll be on the agenda this week.
I'll be willing to make a motion to modify ordinance 2024-15, providing Cuyahoga County consent to construct resurfacing Warrensville Center Road from Fairmount Boulevard to Cedar Road in University Heights on first reading.
There you're going to read. Well, you're doing there.
Mr. Roxy.
I thought we were just doing on first reading. I'm not ready to pass. That's me personally. I want to.
If this doesn't impact, we have to provide the answer by May 1st. If there's any additional information, I'm comfortable waiting until the next council meeting. If other council members feel differently, I'm willing to move forward. on emergency. I guess that, well, I'm asking, I'm doing something I shouldn't.
Do you want to move forward today? Or do you want to wait? Because
Well, with the design processes, we're gonna input on, so I'm comfortable giving consent to proceed. To proceed with the county. Because we're gonna input on the design process.
so it's up to you if you want to.
I
Yeah, that emergency
understand.
meeting, we can do it at the next meeting.
I understand.
If I may.
Yes.
Yes. Whether you proceed with that or don't, maybe we can ask Mr. Ron. It sounds like you wanted to wait, there may be things you wanted to research or get more information on, maybe, these are things that Mr. Mack can provide, or the county can provide. The design elements, I think, are way off into the future. I mean, not way off, but obviously they don't need to be determined before we would pass this, whether it's today or 2 weeks from now. So, if there's something that I guess I was wanting to know more about what it was you were looking for that would help you for next.
To clarify that when I receive this agenda, it said first reading, and the way I prepare myself for these meetings. It's first reading or second reading or on emergency, I prepare myself in such a way. And so I prepared myself for first reading and not for final passage at this point. It's not to slow this down, I just want to dig deeper. To make sure this is a very expensive proposition and need to be prepared.
Yeah, thank you. I just, we've had time to have a second reading and to take this up. That keeps us on schedule, right?
When's next?
2 weeks from today.
And Mr. Mag, if we have to get in touch with you, if we have any other clarifying questions, can we get your information from the mayor?
I've been heard,
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
and I'm going to send the statement of qualification packages for those 3 firms to the mayor.
If you can send them to me or to Mrs. Thomas, we have my email, so you can send.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this was it.
If those qualification packets come in, can you get them out to us at least a week? When would they be coming? Tomorrow? Could you get them out like a week in advance of the meeting? Because that stuff to plow through is gonna take time.
Yeah, then this is, we can send out in advance, we don't have to wait till the back.
I would appreciate
Yeah,
it.
that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, that was on first reading. You're now on to the end of the. Resolution 2024-13, authorizing the city to participate in a consortium to invite bids for solid waste transfer and disposal services. Mr. Pennington?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Recently, we had a meeting with the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District, discussing the options for solid waste transfer and disposal services in a consortium to obtain bids throughout the county. In order to do this, the Solid Waste District is asked us to have the resolution authorizing the mayor to meet with the Solid Waste District to develop proposal documents, review recommendations to allow for a selection via bid of the disposal facilities. In doing so, they're looking to go out to bid in June with the final award of the selected facility in September, which would be in time for us to look at our October changeover that we're looking to do with our various facilities from both solid waste as well as the recycling. So the following ordinance similarly is in regards to the consortium bid prices for the municipal recycling facility. And it would be a similar process for the resolution.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Pennington?
Thank you very much. Appreciate you participating. I just made a little comment. This is for solid waste, right?
Yes.
I think how you just said that. Okay, I think I understood.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah.
Ms. Weiser?
How many communities are participating?
I am not sure the exact number, but it's a good amount of county communities. Mayor, do you recall how many,
It's somewhere between 12 and 18. Historically, I don't know anybody that's dropping out or jumping on. It's around.
Thank you.
Is there a motion? Yes, resolution 2024-13.
So moved.
Make a second. Is there any discussion? It's time, so we follow.
Mr. King,
Aye.
Ms. Sacks,
Aye.
Mr. Cooney,
Aye.
Ms. White,
Aye.
Ms. Rod,
Aye.
Ms. Marshall, Ms. Weiser,
Resolution 2024-13 passes. Resolution 2024-14, authorizing the city to participate in a consortium to invite bids for recycling processing services. Mr. Pennington just mentioned this is also an invitation for bids.
yes, it is. This is a similar process to the solid waste. We're dealing with the solid waste district. Again, the same number of communities will be participating. And we'll be looking at the municipal recycling facility, which will ultimately determine the items that are available for recycling for us once we go on to the program.
Do you anticipate this to be a different?
Until we see the bid, we don't know whether it be Kimball or one of the other suppliers, Waste Management, one of the others. There'll be bid, it's a bid process, so they won't have the.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion? Sorry, Ms. Weiser.
So information we might be sending out on recycling now might not necessarily be valid, but it's
What we're sending out now is in regards to what we currently obviously,
Right.
what's in the packets that went out with the glasses. We've told everybody to stay tuned on the items that will be included in the recycling when we do the rollout with the new carts. Educational materials will go out with those carts in regards to the items that will be recycled as part of that program when we roll that out this fall.
and we should know who the bidder is before that.
We'll know by
Sometime when,
September, they should have everything.
so this will be resolved by,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Is there a motion?
So
Is there a second? Okay. Second, by Ms. Marshall. Ms. Thomas, would you call the roll?
Mr. King,
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks,
Aye.
Mr. Cooney,
Aye.
Mrs. White,
Aye.
Mr. Rod,
Aye.
Ms. Marshall, Ms. Weiser,
Okay, the resolution passes. Agenda item D, ordinance 2024-16, authorizing Wallace Cancer Group Incorporated to perform design, engineering, and construction administration work in connection with the city 2024 street repair program and declaring an emergency on emergency. Will the city engineer come to the podium just in case there's any questions? So I had, actually a few questions, that I called the city engineer about. So we have a few issues with this ordinance. Number one is our current professional service ordinance has a threshold of $50,000. And anything above that needs to go out for bid. The issue we have now is timing, number one. That timing is due to a late budget submission. That is the biggest issue right now. If we had the budget earlier, we would not have come into this problem. Number two is, I was just informed that the state of Ohio has increased their threshold because of the rising costs from $50,000 to $75,000, which is something that I think council of the whole should take up to change the ordinance, which I will make a meeting in the very near future to discuss this with the council, so we can update our professional service ordinance. So that's number one. This ordinance is asking to waive the $50,000 requirement because of the timing, which I am tending to agree with. We have a new engineer, she's done her due diligence. I do not agree with the fact that we should have been able to do this with an earlier budget. That's a separate discussion altogether. The second issue that we have with this is that the entire project is way over our budget street budget. What's in our budget is 601,000, and I think what this has in here is 700 and trying to think. I saw it here. 716,000.
$58,000.
So we have two issues here that we have to deal with. So I'd like to discuss them separately and open it up to the floor. I am okay because of timing. We need to get these streets done to waive the $50,000 requirement. With the caveat that we are gonna go back to the council of the whole because the state of Ohio increased the threshold. I'm okay with that. I'm not happy with it right now, but I'm okay with that. But biggest piece is right now that we are way over our budget and we need to deal with this right now.
Just on the budget, so the budget for capital expenses 600 was the engineering separate. Or was that?
Yeah, so Mr. Kennedy, was the design fee separate from the $601,000, which was in the budget for street?
We did put a placeholder in the street fund for that.
Okay,
The total for the actual construction contract. We had about $56,000 left over in ARPA money that we can use this year still. And then the balance of that 601,000 was in the street fund, silent, yeah, it's in the street.
so our street fund had 601,000, which was the budget.
So we had 545,000. 545.
So when we talked, the 601 had the ARPA money included.
Correct.
And then the engineering fee, was that included in the 601 also?
Division in the 200 line. Look that up if you want to continue.
So I asked that because then maybe we're at 640 instructions. Helps a little bit.
Right.
That argument.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Like that.
I know we changed some of the placeholders.
Yeah.
The first discussion.
Budget here. The engineering design fees in fund 200.
We had $50,000 set aside in that line for engineering services. It paid $4,000 already this year. It was on a leftover GPD bill, so it's $45,880.50 left for engineering.
So where it says street, where it says city engineer, 21470 engineering services of $75,000, is that for the street and the street infrastructure piece?
214,78,54,085.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the engineering. That was the placeholder.
and there's still 75 in there?
No, we reduced it after that person.
Perhaps how much?
Down to 50,
Okay,
and then subsequently we get the small bills, so it's 45,000.
okay, so we have 601, and then we have another 45. So there's 646 right now.
Excuse me, Vice Mayor.
That's almost
Um,
good, yeah.
11470, 54086. Engineering services general.
Not
It's
one,
56.
two, it's
No.
not 200,
Right, but there's another line item in there for 56,000
that's for the team.
retaining. Thank you.
So essentially, we're about $70,000. Give or take.
So, yeah,
And Mayor, I mean, when we were budgeting this, when you were budgeting this, what do you, I mean, what is this?
I didn't have an engineer.
But no, Mr. Toomey did all of this before. he left.
Yes, we based what we have on Mr. Cheney's numbers. Mr. Cheney's not here. We do not have Mr. Cheney's numbers now that we're considering. We have Ms. Lockheed's numbers.
So
which-
actually,
So if I may finish. Yes, you know, when we had city engineer up on January 2nd, and that engineer was not confirmed, we went all the way to the end of February without it. And in the meantime, we had to submit a budget, and we submitted the budget based upon the information provided by the previous engineer. I expressed then how important it was that we had an engineer, the engineer that would be doing the project here, so that we could have that engineer's input for the budget. We used the best numbers we had based upon what we knew when we introduced the budget earlier this year. And we did that without the benefit of the city engineer. Now, these numbers are placeholders, they were approximate, they're off by about $70,000. Then, this is the scope of the work that Mr. Cheney suggested to do. I believe the scope is good. I think Ms. Lockwood thinks so too. We should be finding a way to do this work and adjusting the appropriations for. And I would ask Mr. Kennedy to prepare an appropriations adjustment in order to do that and bring that to you at the next meeting.
so actually, when Mr. Toomey prepared this, he had Carol in here also, so he was way off, not his little. So, I mean, and he's never way off, yeah, so I'm not sure how this happened. There was a whole nother street in here. Yeah, Mr. Hack.
I have a lot of questions. Well, first, let's look at this. Actually, let me back up. I don't see the proposal or contract in our packet, so that first and foremost, you submitted a proposal, correct?
I submitted budget, engineer's estimate, so.
Okay, but this particular work you're going to perform is outside the scope, not part of retainer services, so how are you contracted?
I will prepare a proposal. Right now, all I want to draw attention to was the costs.
Okay, so we will still approve your contract, is that correct? Or that what are we approving today, that we're just approving for them to work on this design? Because it sounds like we don't have a contract yet.
So right now, on the agenda,
Does he have a contract yet?
No,
Okay, so there's no,
Okay.
yeah,
So we're not approving a contract, we're approving. I'm just nervous here because we're gonna authorize you to perform design engineering services without a contract. We've gone down this road before. So. the contract. Okay, so that's, I mean, that was the first question. And I'm nervous. Second question, comment really, these aren't necessarily adding up correctly. The 640 plus the 73,000 should net 713.
Yeah, there is an error in
Okay,
it. I see.
so that'll be adjusted. And then the 73,000. Was that the first number you threw out, or was that a revised number?
That number is correct based on the 640 above it.
Right, but what I'm asking is, when you proposed 73,000, was it higher before, or and you came down to 73, or was it always 70? Okay, and the reason I asked is, because I brought this up before, and the need for bidding this out, and I understand we don't have the time, that luxury, but we just received from the county today, design and construction inspection fees of 5% and 5%, 10 total for Warrenville Center Road, and this was agreed upon by a local firm, a national firm, and a global. And they were okay with the 10%, and your fee is 11.5. So,
Typically, we are somewhere between 10 and 13.
Yeah.
So first project, whether they think we didn't want to cut our, we don't want to go under. Last thing we want to do is come back and ask for more money.
I get it. So that's what your typical fees are. County plays a little bit of a different game, they're at 10%, so that's something, I think going forward, that maybe a benchmark. And we might see that as we bid it out, market will take care of it. Going through these line items here, I thought we were going to do curb replacement for all road program work, and it says here we're just gonna do minor concrete repairs.
I think that's to the base. We are, it doesn't include concrete work between driveways.
Okay, so the curbs are included, we just didn't say that. And I don't wanna be nitpicky, but. And maybe this is in an effort where we can save some costs. There's 2 line items here for crack seal. Which is great, we need that, I'm not. Trying to take that out, but my question is, what design engineering? At 5% would you be doing substantiate the 5% fee on say crack seal? I get you'll have some construction administration time where you'll have to look and make sure everything was done in conformance with the documents. But does the 5% design engineering fee, is that substantiated with the amount, I mean, is it just a spec? And what exactly are you putting in the documents for those particular lines?
It'll probably be in that.
Okay. So is it possible that to get this closer to the county standard, you yourself probably won't put as much time in line items 4 and 5? Is there some type of savings that we could take advantage of because of the amount of work we do? Because you are charging a fee on top of the contingency as well, which is fine, because we'll probably use a contingency. I'm not gonna be out.
I, just to clarify, unless my math is wrong, the 11, whatever, the 12.5%. 753,000 is on the 582, right? Not on the 640.
No, it's not the 640.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little less than 11.5, might be, but those are my thoughts. Since we're a little over budget, I came up with a solution, and I hope that's something we can entertain.
Mr. Green, did you have a question?
No, I think Mr. Rock actually was able to take care of it. Thank you.
I just had a, what on Warrensville Road are we repairing with the knowledge that in a year, 18 months, we're gonna be.
I think that it's just a large area that's bad right now. That Mr. Cheney has put into the budget, into the plan, that it should be taken care of ahead of that project.
Which part is that?
I would have the.
I'm just wondering if that's something that we can
Hold on.
pull out. hold off?
Well, so the crack ceiling in the Lawrenceville Center repair, we are getting money from the county road preventative maintenance reimbursement.
Oh, so there's gonna be an
for
offset for
repairs.
those?
So it's, yeah, we're getting $46,285. From the county, crack ceiling and the Lawrenceville Center repair.
So from the 716, we're gonna get 46,000 back,
Yes.
or 713, whatever. Okay,
Brings it down to
Yeah.
670.
that brings it down
I
significantly.
don't think it's. The letter from last year, Elmore, actually,
Oh, that was 2023. There is a new one, the city did get money for 2024.
I haven't seen those numbers yet, so.
Okay, so you've seen a letter that said
Yeah,
46,000. Okay, so that brings it down significantly. So. I'm just saying, I just need to see what the appropriation has to be after. And. I think we need to know what the Warrensville Center Road patch is. Before we make a determination,
Okay,
since
I'll
it's,
look that up.
like, can we hold off on it or can't, it could be we can't, I don't know. Mr. Pennington, did you have something to say?
Yes. Just let you know, the Warrensville Center was something that Joe Chudy put in the project for spot repairs with Warrensville Center. If you look at the area kind of right off the Cedar, right by the Whole Foods, there's a very bad section of road there. Down the south end, it's a very bad section of road as well. These are small repair areas that will be done within that money, with the county putting in approximately $46,000 worth of funds for the materials, with the city on
We understand.
Thank you. Is that across the street, like by Citizens Bank?
Yeah,
That's terrible.
that is,
It's terrible.
yeah,
Thank you.
the areas are to be determined, but it's gonna go based upon the square footage. That is the area that I have in mind.
There's another big one, actually, right on Warrenville, too. So is that included in the city? That one there,
You're talking about in the center of the intersection where the water main break was.
is that right?
Yeah, there was several water main repairs done in that intersection. We're in the process of, right now, with cold patching. We're in the process of scheduling to run the narrow board. And once the asphalt plant's open, get some asphalt back in those locations.
Also, that wasn't a part of.
No, this is all due to water main.
So, Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Mugby, is there a way that we can get an updated cost analysis to vote on appropriate numbers with the offset from the county? And I guess if we're coming back, if we can have that contract too, just so we know what we're voting on. Will that be holding anything up on your end?
Well, I'll get this together and I'll circulate it with the mayor, start with the mayor. If he doesn't see any issues with it, then it'll be on the next, council meeting agenda. And we'll go from there. I mean, I have some, some work to go back to and some tidying up to do, so. I am working on it, but we probably won't see our surveyor, we won't be tracking any drones yet until the contract is signed.
Okay. So anyways, you don't have a contract, so. Okay, and then, Mr. Kennedy, can you have those appropriations ready then also at the next meeting, so that can at least be on the agenda as well?
I'll coordinate.
Okay, thank you. So.
Do you need to make a motion to table? Vice Mayor.
Can this, well, I'm just asking law director, can this be on first reading?
Sure.
Instead of emergency? Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate that, it's comfortable,
Yeah.
contract, and I'm sure you don't feel comfortable doing work.
Yeah, I mean, and all these numbers are wrong anyways at this point, so, and then we'll really be able to see exactly what the, but, you know, we have to appropriate them. And
Do you have a time frame for the sign engineering, just a rough estimate?
Well, I'll probably need at least a month to get the plans ready, and the spec book, and then go the bidding.
Makes sense.
And then we'll make sure that we need the council at the whole meeting also, so we can get that updated, that ordinance. So it won't be in 2 weeks, but. I'm sure, yeah, that's why I said,
And I'd just like to know, this is the engineer's first
right.
proof, and we understand that, and until you get up, fully up to speed, we'll have some backing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, agenda letter E, motion to approve entering into a 5-year lease to own agreement with Lease Servicing Center DBA NCL Government Capital for a 20-car GS Products Midstar Automated Side Loader on Pueblo annual yearly cost of $71,466.81. Mr. Pennington.
Yes, thank you, right there. In coordination going forward with the recycling program, we went out, quotations from, several bidders, not really bid, perhaps, but, one of them are quotes from Sourcewell, came in at $319,000 for a yard, automated truck. The, firm that we, went, looked at is, come in with a big quote of $295,000. So 20-yard GS products, Midstar automated side loader dump truck. With all equipment for side load automated recycling services. In going forward with this, I must note that council would need to waive the competitive bidding requirement, as this did not go officially out to bid. However, we did use the technically state bid, the Sourcewell account, come up with the numbers, and then got other competitive quotes, which we found one that actually beat that. The truck at the $295,000, going with 5-year lease, put it at $71,466.81 per year with a lease to own. So we would own the truck at the end of the 5-year lease. The original truck that I took to the service facilities committee meeting, when we originally talked about going automated, was a truck that is the third number we have in here. It would have been a 7-year lease, about $72,000 a month. This truck will do what we needed to do, and we did demonstrate the truck about a week ago, and we are comfortable with moving forward with this truck for our recycling services. At this point, I would ask the council authorize the purchase of the truck with the waiving competitive bidding requirement.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a couple questions. One is, I was talking to the law director that we, we'll discuss this motion, but we'll bring it back to put this on as an ordinance at the next meeting, just because it should be as an ordinance. I think the consultant mentioned a rear automated, I don't know what the exact.
The rear tipper that we talked about at the mini meeting would require us to hire the additional employee.
Oh, the rear tipper
possibly
requires that.
correct.
Okay, so this side arm,
Side is automated, where the arm comes out, grabs the can, dumps it into the.
okay, it goes right over and into the truck. Okay, I wasn't sure if the rear also did.
No,
Okay,
the rear, our worker has to move the can to the rear of the truck,
got it.
hook it on, automatic, do a
Right, I just wanted to clarify that.
and then that's.
Yeah, I remember when we spoke about that in the meeting. And then also, so I know Sourcewell is the government's website for sourcing vehicles.
Yes.
but we also bid through that, correct, usually?
We get quotes from them on a number of types of equipment. It's not, they come up with pricing that's essentially a quote state bid number for you. Their number is a number that's good, competitive throughout the state, or throughout the state, that is utilized for purchasing equipment by municipalities.
Right, I can answer that question. It's kind of like the state bid where there's a particular vehicle where, you know, state bid price, Sourcewell does that thing on the same process at the national. So maybe differences in equipment, things like that. The base vehicle has already gone through the bidding process by Sourcewell, so this is considered the best price from the various vendors.
So this is compared to like when we get our police and fire type vehicles, it's the same type of best deal available out there.
But we did talk about, you know, something of this size, this type of purchase is better done by ordinance, and we can explain why we went through the process. We did explain why we're selecting this particular vehicle, so Mr. Kennedy has something in writing, if the auditors would look at it, you know, why you decided to buy this vehicle, you didn't go out to complete the bidding process, which may not be practical in this situation, but we can articulate all those reasons in the ordinance. I think what Mr. Pennington said, you know, wants to let them know that, so we can secure the vehicle, so they hold it for us, so it doesn't get sold to someone else. And we wouldn't issue the purchase order until after the ordinance. Hold the vehicles. Buy it.
Correct. Currently, they do have a Freightliner chassis in stock that they can dedicate to us to allow for September 1st, give or take delivery. So by getting them something tonight, we're able to get them to hold the truck for us, and then we can go forward with the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Pennington? Yeah, Ms. Weiser.
I noticed, on the other two bidders, the yard capacity is significantly larger, one's at 26, one's at 27. And the $295,000 package of 20. Those other companies do not supply a 20. I mean, you've given us three things, but they're not apples to apples. That's what I'm saying.
Right, the one was a 26,
Yeah, well, the other one's at 27. I went back and looked at those.
yeah, let's say that. Typo on their end, because I believe it was the 20-yard truck. On that bill, for $19,000.
They showed 27 on the
Yeah, I see.
paperwork.
I looked at the,
Yeah,
I believe it was
it was what?
to be a 20-yard truck. Smaller truck, similar to this.
Even though
I believe it was a typo on there. They're saying 27. Should have said 20.
Okay, but we're not positive.
That's.
I'm not trying to grade, I'm just.
No, it's my understanding that it was supposed
The
to,
question is,
it's my understanding that it was supposed to be a 20-yard pack.
because if they turned around and bid you something higher, that would explain the difference in cost.
Yeah.
So and just one other thing, if we're gonna have, if I'm gonna vote on something that costs $295,000, and we have it coming in for a demonstration, I certainly would appreciate knowing it's here. Because if I have flex hours a lot of times, and I'd love to see the real operation.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't find out it was gonna be there until the day before.
It's works.
I didn't
I appreciate that.
something when it came in that I did not get a chance to put it out for people. But I can look into that 27, but my understanding was that it was a 20.
Yeah, do we need, obviously, we don't need something that large.
27.
places.
We don't need, something that large, for recycling purposes, 20-yard truck will more than adequately handle what we're doing.
And it obviously is the best price, so
Yeah.
I was just wondering if the other companies were comparative, did have a smaller,
Well, I can tell you the curb tender, did indicate that the delivery of that truck would be sometime in 20.
but the delivery also is another thing which recommend. Okay, good.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. King?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Pennington, do you know if there is an ability to pay off the lease early in order to buy it out?
I'm not sure on the, it's a 5-year term at the 61,000, or we can do an outright purchase for 295.
And the reason I'm asking is that the Ohio EPA has a program where they offer up to $200,000 grants for curbside recycling. Unfortunately, we are way off the application cycle right now. The applications typically are due December 1st, and then they're awarded sometime in April, April, May, June, the following year. I'm not sure if we were to pursue something like that, if we could use it to buy out, or if we would have to be purchasing something new. But it was just something I had looked into a couple of years ago when we first started talking about curbside recycling. And there have been a couple of communities in the area who have been awarded this last year, Cleveland Heights and Mayfield Village were both awarded $200,000 each. Not that there was another wrinkle in, but I'd just be interested to know if there is some sort of option to release.
I really can't answer that at this time.
Sure.
One of the other options we would have then is, at some point, we need to get a second truck for redundancy purposes. For if the truck was down for maintenance. Maybe that's something we look at the grant for that additional vehicles.
So this is our release this truck as our dipping our toes into the curbside recycling business, and then when we go to get something else, we could go out to the plentiful and try to get in that bidding cycle.
I think that's, yes, I believe that's what.
Thank you, Mr. Pennington.
Mr. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw out this whole grant thing, so, we're not gonna secure the truck right away, it takes how many months to build?
Right now, they haven't, since they have the truck in stock, they will have it ready by September.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, could you apply later since you haven't received the truck?
We're way off.
We're not gonna see.
So, we have really audience.
Yeah. Okay, so that's unfortunate, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. The only concern I have is, you mentioned dipping our toes, and I share similar sentiment. I hope this program is a success. But I want to plan in case it is not. And so this particular truck can't service any of our other rubbish needs because it's an automated truck. Whereas when we were looking at the rear load packer vehicle, it could be used if it's not, if you don't have the tipper, you just take the tipper off and you can use it for regular traffic. So at least it has some flexibility. So I'm a little concerned about that. But if we had bought the truck, then sure, it's not a success, we just sell the truck. That's how we could do that. But if we're leasing it, what are our options to get out of the lease in the event this doesn't spark as much interest? Not there's interest. We mentioned a few hundred houses, so that's good. But just in the event it doesn't really take off and we have to plan to train people, are we able to get out of the lease?
At this point, I don't know that I can answer that question. I did not look at the termination clause in the lease.
It's something where we just find out a lease and sell it and hose on that, but not have some type of flex.
I guess a question for the law director, so we make this motion, we're basically holding this truck, but we're not purchasing it yet. If we come back with the ordinance, we can have all of the lease documentation in the next meeting.
Yeah, I believe, it was included in that, but I'll pick up the-
Okay. If we can have it at the next meeting, that, when we have. Okay, yeah.
I appreciate your son. I'm gonna be optimistic. Good. I'm gonna say we're gonna have to 5%. And I hope that happens.
Doesn't hurt to plan.
Okay, great. Is there a, can we amend the motion? Do we need to amend the motion to, state that an ordinance will be forthcoming, or we don't need to do that?
I don't think you need to. Approving it, I mean, I would amend it to say. You're gonna have an ordinance, the purchase of the issue. Subsequent. Yes.
Move to amend the motion to add. Let's see, motion to approve entering into a 5-year lease, contingent. An ordinance being prepared and lease documents being used.
With purchase order not issued.
Right, well, purchase order not issued until.
Yeah, and purchase order not issued for ordinances. Why don't we do it that way? And then to, at the end, say, contingent on the ordinance being prepared, the purchase order not being released until the ordinance is. Okay.
I'll second. That lengthy motion.
Way in competitive bidding.
I still take care of the ordinance.
Is there any discussion on the amendment to the motion? Okay, Mrs. Thomas, we follow.
Mr. King.
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks.
Aye.
Mr. Tony.
Aye.
Mr. Wise.
Aye.
Mr. Rock. Aye. Ms. Marshall. Aye. Ms. Wise.
And we make a motion on the new motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second question.
Mrs. Thomas, we follow.
Mr. King.
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks.
Aye.
Mr. Tony.
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Mr. Rock.
Aye.
Ms. Marshall. Aye. Ms. Wise.
Thank you, Mr. Pennington. Thank you. We do have an executive session. Okay, is Mrs. Rucker here?
Yes.
Is it for real estate matters?
I think that the purpose would be to discuss, imminent,
No, so it's legal. Okay. Is there a motion to enter executive session for legal proceedings? Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Thomas, we call the roll.
Mr. King.
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks.
Aye.
Mr. Tony.
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Mr. Rock. Aye. Ms. Marshall. Aye. Ms. Wise.
We'll just go through the reports of standing committees before we go into executive session, and then just for the law director, do you believe you'll have any agenda items actually come out of the executive session?
No.
So building and housing is what you said.
There will be a building and housing meeting at 6 p.m. before the next council meeting on the 15th. There will be a number of items published on the agenda. We have the safe bill contract and a number of other things that we do need to resolve.
Thank you. Community outreach, Mr. King?
No updated this time, question.
I have a question. Did you send out a doodle on that?
I have not, Ms. Weiser.
Okay.
Economic development,
Oh, yeah. We spoke and the truckers comment, it sounds like we'll have a meeting, sometime in the next 2 weeks. And another one in the summer, and, like I said, I would like to get the committee together to elicit feedback. On what we've already heard, to make sure we're going in the right direction. So. I'll work with that.
Finance, we will have a finance committee meeting in May for our quarterly meeting, and there will be a two shortly. Recreation, Mr. Cooney.
Yes, thank you. We had a recreation committee meeting, on, March 25th. The part of the discussion items was regarding First Parkville Road and expenses. We did, come up with a recommendation for the pool fee schedule, which I provided to the mayor, for consideration. We also, discussed the overtime resources required for the Fall Fest and Juneteenth events from the fire, police and service department. They provided estimates for what may be needed, which can be, used, as part of, the 2025 budget. As part of input items for that. There's also, we discussed the status of the red tennis court repairs that will be going under way, hopefully sooner than later, to get ready for the summer season, which will include the, we will have 2 pickleball courts at the First Park. And also to improve the regards to some improving the process for potential use of the tennis courts throughout the summer notification process. We're going to have a board that's at the tennis court that'll describe if there are perhaps tennis lessons that are being provided or any other activities maybe out there. So residents can be aware of that. They can plan accordingly and ask questions. So thank you for the committee members for that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Cooney. Ms. Marshall, safety.
We didn't have a safety meeting today because the police chief or the fire chief didn't have any items for the agenda. We're planning to have a meeting on May 6th.
Thank you. Service and utilities, Ms. Hess.
Thank you. The next Service and Utilities Committee meeting will be on Monday, June 10th at 6 p.m. The agenda is still in process, but you heard you got a little sneak preview with the engineer and his service director. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And committee of the whole. There is a committee of the whole meeting on Wednesday. We will be touring the Brook Park police station, which is connected to their city hall. I'm sorry, Brooklyn, which is connected to their city hall. We have invited the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee as well. There will be a Facilities and Infrastructure Committee meeting, which is a subsidiary of the Council of the Whole in May as well, to discuss our final assessment of everything, of all of our tours, with the goal of beginning police and fire plans. Those are the first phase 1 piece in terms of our facilities. If there is additional funding, or if there is funding available, City Hall would be discussed, but right now police and fire are the priorities right now. And as well, there will be a Council of the Whole meeting scheduled, like we discussed, to update our professional service ordinance as well. So those are the 2 meetings that will be scheduled. Are there any reports of special committees or taking action thereof?
If I may, just with regard to the Brooklyn visit on Wednesday, Mayor Van Hood's on the 6th. So want to make economic use of the time.
Okay, and is there any unfinished or miscellaneous business? Okay, we will now go into executive session. Thank you.
Really? That's something we'll just have to look at. So. Oh, yeah. Judge, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they both need to spot and. All right, I don't think so. I'll be seeing them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sure.
Oh, that is unacceptable. We as women, do not deserve to look at community when we collapse. We deserve to be. Stand up for your mom. Stand up for your mom. You have to. Your duty as the person. I would be more than and not feel bad. I would go really critical for this follow the result. I am more than happy to do that. Only one. You always are. We just want to do the regular work. So what we are beginning to believe is that. We need to do better and we will be better. Okay, all right. Kelly, always a pleasure. Well, I'm gonna be the boss. I know. So I was coming here now and it's like $1,600. And that's in the nosebleed. It should be. Go fund me so you go. Right.
Thank you, feel good. Sarah, welcome to come out of executive session.
Second.
Councilor Colorado.
Mr. King.
Aye.
Mr. Mooney.
Aye.
Wise.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Marshall.
Aye.
Ms. White.
Conclusion.
Second.
Councilor Colorado.
King.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Mooney.
Aye.
Wise. Ms. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Marshall. Aye.
Aye.